Welcome back to TFC Unplugged World Cup edition, and today I'm joined by a man that's a legend in the Toronto community for his preseason lack of recording, his GAM memes, and his general social media hype of Toronto FC, Mr. Eric Giacometti. What's going on, Eric?
What's going on? I'm glad my legacy lives on strong even years later. I appreciate you having me on.
You know what's funny? I was actually, we do this for fun, right? And when I was looking at something the other day, there is this new cool gadget called an Xbox Go. Have you heard of this? And what it is,
I feel old. I do not.
so what it is if you go to your kids' games, you can put it on a pole. It looks like a pair of binoculars that's got, you attach your camera, your phone to it, and it actually records the entire game and streams it live for you. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, if Eric had this back in the day, all those TFC peeps that used to get angry at it for not recording it, this would be your gadget. I was going to send you the link to it the other day, actually. I was like, oh, I got to send him this.
Still breaking out in a cold sweat. I think people legitimately thought I was going to stand with my iPhone and just record 120 minutes of preseason action. Like, oh my God.
But that's what this thing does for you. It's brilliant. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is such a cool thing for now. If you got your kids for football games or something like that, it's definitely the thing to have.
It looks like they've got it sorted. I saw you guys had a couple preseason games like actually professionally streamed this year. So kudos to the crew for getting it done. You guys are moving on up now. Before I was getting 6 years. Shot down left and right about preseason streams. All of a sudden now you're getting it in HD on YouTube. So you guys are all set now.
It only took 6 years of us complaining, moaning just to get it done, right? You know how it goes, right? So it's good, but no, it's
absolutely
it's always a pleasure to have you on. I know everyone's kind of we're going to get into the Canada Switzerland game. I do have to ask you about the US so far because obviously they came out the gate flying. Pochettino looks like, holy crap, he looks like Pochettino from Tottenham, not the Pochettino that was at Spurs, at Chelsea. And the US seem to be just terrifying everybody in the group right now. How is it there?
It's pretty remarkable, right? I mean, I think there was always this air of confidence about the U.S. because you look at the talent pool that they have and you say, okay, there's enough talent here, maybe more than we've ever had in terms of players playing at really top clubs around the world and being in form. When you look at the likes of Pulisic, McKinney, Balogun, Dest, Jedi Robinson, I mean, all over the pitch you have guys that are playing significant minutes for real top teams across Europe. But I also think there was a lot of consternation when you look at the build-up to the World Cup with unfavorable results in the Gold Cup, the Nations League, and to the point where you're even wondering, does Pochettino still have a handle on who his best 11 is, which players he's going to bring into camp? There was still so many question marks about, does he really understand this player pool and can he get the best out of them? And then you look at that Paraguay game, and to produce the best game under a manager in a World Cup match, like that was bar none the best match we've ever seen under Mauricio Pochettino. And for it to happen at the first game of a World Cup is pretty remarkable. I mean, that was the most expansive football I've ever seen them play. The way that they were able to pick apart Paraguay, just pressing them into their own half. They really couldn't get out from to really play at all. Balogun was remarkable, really clinical.
Unplayable.
You could just see what a different, in terms of a number 9. I mean, the U.S. has been calling out for that really since Josie. I mean, a real reliable number 9 that they could count on, and he just brings something different to the team. So even without Pulisic in that second half, I think they were able to really manage the game. And to your point, I think that they're flying right now, and I think the nation is really energized. I think the momentum we've got is maybe more than I mean, granted, the fact that it's here in the United States, Mexico, Canada as well, gives it a little bit more of a shot in the arm. But in my lifetime, in terms of the fandom and the fervor around this team, it's as high as I've ever seen. There's such a buzz about what this team can do. Some of it is a little bit misguided from the casuals, or like the ESPN talking heads talking crazy about what we can or can't do. So take it all with a grain of salt. But I think there's a lot of reason for optimism if you're a national team favorite of the United States.
Yeah, I saw Pat McAfee tweet, "We're going to win the World Cup," and I did chuckle when I saw that. I'll be honest, it did give me a good chuckle.
Let's
have you met France yet? Have you seen Argentina?
They're excited. That's
England,
all. We'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take excitement, knowledge we're working on.
Yeah, there seems to be as a social media guy, you seems to be if you watch anything World Cup related, Scotland in the US seems to be have taken over all of social media.
Awesome.
I think it's to me it's I was laughing. I'm like, did they not know the Scots like to drink? Did they not know the Scots like to party? Like, was this a shock? But apparently it is. So I did give me a good laugh. Like, what do you make of those videos? Because they
Oh,
are pretty funny.
I've loved it, honestly. Like it has been like quite candidly, it's been really refreshing to see. Because I
Mm.
think, when you talk about living in the social media world, as I do, my screen time hours are quite embarrassing when you think about how much time I spend on my phone. But the inundation of information we get, especially I can speak from kind of both sides of the border of living in Canada, then now coming back to the States. I think there's a lot of tension and a dour nature around everything to do
Mm.
politically right now with the U.S. and Canada relations and just in general. But to see people from all over the world coming and enjoying the U.S. in real life, coming over, just Japanese fans coming over and just being marveling at like a Texas barbecue, and to your point, like the Scott fans coming over to Boston and drinking them out of beer. Like it has been so cool. Like Algerian fans celebrating in New York City. Like it's been awesome to see that this is genuinely what the spirit of the World Cup is all about, is all of these different cultures bringing something to bring to the beautiful game that we can all enjoy together. And I think all of them enjoying what we have to offer as well, right? In terms of the U.S., it's an expansive country. We have a ton of different cultures within a culture. So it's been awesome to see. I've really been enjoying all the social media reactions to the things that we to think are mundane, like a Costco run of being able to see everything in a Costco warehouse. People are losing their minds about. People are smuggling ranch to go back to Europe. It's some of the stories that I'm hearing are bring a smile to my face. But it's been really heartwarming, honestly.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I have a friend I game with most nights late, and they're in Kansas City, and there's like we've run out of ranch because the tourists are all buying the ranch up, and I'm like, is that a thing? Like,
It's that much of a
seriously?
novelty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's she's like, y'all don't have like ranch dressing like in Europe. I'm like, I can speak from the English. No, they have like three choices of the
Yeah.
dressing: Italian, salad cream, and French. That's it. So
That's
it
so
does make me
funny.
laugh. I do have to clear up one thing that I have been inundated with. I had Mike Leach on the other day. He said hi. He said, "Oh, just remind Eric that he's the reason why you got the Toronto FC lineups out late was because he was talking." So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
he
I'm
did say
sure.
that to me. He said that to me. But I inadvertently called the Scottish the other day jocks, and everyone's been inundating me with what is a jock, and I'm like, they're like, you mean like a US jock? I'm like, no, no. In England, everyone calls the Scottish jocks. Same as we
Oh,
call everyone from Ireland paddies because it's short for Patrick that gets shots
right.
to Paddy. So it's the same as in Scotland. They call everyone in England Dave because everyone's if you go in any pub in England and yell Dave, someone's gonna go yeah, right. It's just one of those things. And we also call Norwegians Erics. So
Oh.
it's a slang term, so just to clear that up for everybody that's watching, so no one. I had like 9 messages this week of like, "What's a jock?" Like, so I'm like, it's
I
an
can't
English
say
term
I've
for
heard
a
of that one
Scottish
before.
person.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently our Canadian audience didn't know that either, so
There you go.
I'm clearing that up in one go. So let's get on to today. Obviously, Canada lost 2-1 to Switzerland. Um, it was a pretty much a like I thought halftime this looked like it's going to be a draw, and then that first goal went in within 40 seconds of the second half, and then my you mentioned it to me before we came on air that natural to be have the cynicism of we always like to lose, right? And it's just I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, a Canadian sports team thing, but always knowing that you think or feel like you're going to lose a game happens to come. And as soon as they scored, I was like, oh, I'm like, I don't think we can get out of this. But
I
like,
think the fact that it happened so quickly after halftime just makes it more deflating, because you felt like,
mhm.
that first half was definitely Switzerland were on top, but you felt like, okay, maybe we weathered the storm. We can come into our own, use the crowd, and get back into this game. And to give up that goal straight after halftime, I think was just that set the tone for the rest of the game. And it was difficult for them to claw back into it. And I think, obviously they're riddled with injury right now, and you would have loved to have the likes of of Kone and Alfonso
Yeah.
Davies, and there's a lot of players that I think could have helped them out. I think you saw maybe a little bit of the naivete of the Canadian team. Particularly someone like Luc de Fougerols, who's been a really solid defender. But I think on
Yeah.
both of those goals, he'd probably want those back. Both goals coming down the right channel. I believe it was the first one where he gets pulled out to the right wing, doesn't win the ball, and then Alistair Johnson now has to cover into the center of the defense. The ball is whipped into the back post, wide open, and he's able to tuck that one away. The second one, I think Max Crepeau just has to do better on. Again, another pretty simple ball over the top, down the channel. A mistime header from de Fougerols, I think, again, on not being able to deal with it. But you hope your keeper can bail you out with one big save. He did make a big save in the first half, to be fair.
That was a stunning save.
Which was a great save. And you think, okay, maybe that's the one that's going to keep us in the game. But then, to let that one go through his hands, now you're down 2-0. And I think now, the crowd is well out of it, and you have an uphill battle. I think that mentally is a difficult one, especially knowing, listen, we just get a draw. There's so much riding on it. Like, of course, getting out of the group. And I spoke with Matt Shinetti, Josh Cloak, and Christian Jack. I was in Toronto for the week leading up to their first game, and I spoke to all of them about what would success mean. And they all said just getting out of the group. So fair play, job done getting out of the group. But when you go into that match day 3, you're in Vancouver, that just a point not only gets you top of the group, but top of the group means you're staying in Vancouver for the round of 32. And if you win that, you're staying in Vancouver for the round of 16. So there was a lot riding on it in terms of, okay, we've more or less, even though mathematically they weren't through today, you've more or less wrapped up, progression to the next stage. Now, if we can just get over the line and top this group, we have home field advantage for these next 2 games, which would be huge. And I think, I don't know, maybe it was the moment got to them a little bit to not be able to steady the nerves. I thought Granit Xhaka was able to really have his way, especially in that first half. You saw some of his class to be able to just dictate the tempo of the game. And it's unfortunate because, again, it's great that Canada's not only they got their first point, they've got their first win, they're moving on to the knockout rounds, but to know what could have been if they were just a little bit sharper on the day, I think is going to stick with them.
So the question is, do you think Granit Xhaka should have been sent off? It's the question.
Which incident was this?
For the one where with Kyle Larin, where Larin goes to kick the ball away, and then Xhaka kicks Larin and takes him out.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think that would be incredibly harsh if that were the case, because I think there's no intention to injure there. He's looking, in fairness, Larin's being a bit cheeky there to, Xhaka's looking to take a quick free kick, and Larin goes in and sticks his foot where he shouldn't be, right? So I think that would be, really harsh. I'm not sure of the letter of the law, but I mean, I don't think there's excessive force. There's no intent to injure. So that would, for me, a red there would be incredibly harsh.
Yeah, I think if it was the ref that sent off Miguel Almiron the other day, I've never seen. Did you see that sending off?
I did. There's been a couple of new rules that I've seen implemented here. That being one of them, with Almiron being sent off, and he was involved in another one that I hadn't seen in the U.S.'s first game, where Tim Ream goes to ground and looks like he got a piece of Almiron, and Almiron just hits the deck. And then they go to the monitor and they look for mistaken identity, which I think previously was only about red cards if the referee went to give it to player A, correct, but it was actually player B. But they actually went and looked and said, okay, there was no contact there. They rescinded the yellow from Ream and gave it to Almiron for diving. So, it's interesting that he was involved in 2 kind of new rules there. But yeah, that was an interesting one. And Bellingham had a pretty similar case in the match against Ghana, but he wasn't carded for that. So I think it's one of those strange ones.
Yeah, that referee though, I've never seen a referee so excited to send somebody off with a new rule. Like, he was like giddy. Like, I was like, I have a YouTube short coming out this week for it, because I had to. It makes me, every time I see it, it makes me laugh, like belly laugh, because he gets so excited to send somebody off. And I'm like, if that was the guy, if we had him today, I think you would have had Granit Xhaka off, because that ref, I think, just. Man, I don't know what he was on, but he was very excited. But I think to your point, though, I think Canada was a little bit naive today, and I think in terms of, I described them at halftime as Swiss. The Swiss obviously clearly watched a lot of Canada games, and they've obviously watched a lot of CONCACAF games, because how they played and how they tried to wind up the Canadian team today was very CONCACAF-like. And I'm like, we've been through that. We know what it's like. I thought they tried to get under a couple of players' skin early, and I think that's kind of a good way of unsettling Canada. We've seen it before, right? We've seen it with Ecuador and other teams, so they've done that. And we've reacted. Like Richie was really fired up today. You could see that, right? And he was like
Yeah.
in people's faces. So I
I actually
thought
think
that
that behooves Canada, though. I think that's kind of when that's the ethos that Jesse's built into this team, right? Is this his big on the chip on the shoulder mantra of nobody believes in
100%.
us. We're gonna go 0 to 90. We got to get up in their face. So I think that plays right into Canada's hands, where you might want to unsettle a team and have them thinking about other things other than the game, getting them a little bit more riled up, and then Canada can use their athleticism and maybe start to chip away. But I didn't see enough of that today, where until later on where they really started to push.
I think the goal gave them belief, right? And that goal was like honestly fantastic. Like what a goal! Like
Really well taken, yeah.
you just heard, right? Promise David, absolutely fantastic. Again, another one that just wasn't fit, wasn't healthy, wasn't question marks over was he going to play, was he not going to play, was he even going to make the World Cup? And then his first touch to score that goal and the assist on the goal is fantastic. And I think as soon as that went in, the old days of TFC, when we scored one, you thought the other one was going to come, right? I really thought it was going to come in that last 5-10 minutes, because it kind of felt like a TFC game from 2017 where the crowd's just going to suck the ball into the back of the net with the energy. And I think that gave them belief, I think, today. And I think that it will be a good lesson for them to learn. It also humbles them a little bit, but I think a little bit more on the, we learned something today. And I think the Swiss did expose us, defensively down the side. And I think it was just a learning lesson. But, the last 10 minutes, I think, was as fun as it gets to try and get the next goal. And, I think if they played for another 10 more minutes, they may have got one. But I just don't think they had enough today.
Yeah, no, on a positive note, I think it was awesome to see some of the scenes building up to the game. I've been out to Vancouver, a handful of times now with TFC, and been to BC Place a fair bit. But I've never seen it like that. I mean, that was incredible to see the turnout from Canada fans, to see that place packed, decked out in red. It was really cool. And I'm glad to see that culture is starting to shift, and this movement is starting to catch fire. But I think it's also kind of funny when you think about what could have been. Again, I don't want to keep harping on about it, but what could have been if they got this draw and they were able to stay at home. To think about a round of 32 game at BC Place, to now going to LA and most likely playing South Korea. So you're going from like the ultimate home field advantage to maybe the ultimate away team. Talk about the amount of Koreans in Los Angeles. You're going to have, there might be 3 Canadians in the stands total. So it's crazy how much of a swing that draw to a loss and could end up being for them.
And it's a short turnaround time too. I think it's 3 days, right? And then if they were at home, they would have had 7 days. So I think it's just, again, it's more rest time to get those players healthy, which I think it is a bit of a loss and a bit of a sad one from that standpoint, right? Because I thought, if that second goal hadn't gone in, I think a 1-1 ties on, right? I think that second goal is the killer. And it's hard because Crepeau was, as you said, it was a fantastic save in the first half. He made a couple of good saves throughout the game. And then for that one, it was probably the easiest shot of the ones that he had to face today. And it's the one that got in, right? But you've kind of seen that a little bit with him this year with Orlando, right? So, in MLS, it's been like that, where he's looked like he's been outstanding in some games, and then there's somewhere I think he'll want those back and those moments back too. So it's tough. It's really is tough. But you know what? Getting Canada out of the group is fantastic. Getting that first win is fantastic, and now they have to really dig in and find out what they're really made of. And the question is, do you think we'll see Alphonso Davies for the first knockout game?
That's the $1 million question. I mean, I'm sure Jesse was being coy, but I mean, I saw the chatter beforehand is, he's available. He's not going to start, but he's available. He's going to, we think he can make a difference off the bench. And I mean, clearly that wasn't the case, because if you look at when Promise David goes 2-1, you got about 15 minutes to go. Surely if Fonzie's good to go, that's when you take the chance. You put him in the game, and then you have a chance to win the group for 15 minutes with your best player. Listen, there's no way that he was healthy, because that's the time that you would put him in. So surely that was just a decoy to some mind games from Jesse. But for Canada's sake, hopefully he's able to give you some significant minutes, and hopefully getting into the round of 32 gives him enough runway to get healthy. When I was up in Toronto, I saw that he was doing some work on the side, some light jogging, but nothing too intense. So, I can't speak to where he's at right now, but you'd have to hope that the amount of time that has been building up to this knockout round game maybe just gives him enough of a chance to, even if he's not able to start, just to give you 15, 20 minutes. Because even again, like in a game like today, that could have made all the difference. You're talking about coming at tired legs, this pacey winger coming in off the bench to create havoc. I think that would have been the ultimate test for him to be able to make a difference, but it just wasn't to be today.
Yeah, I think there's, well, I think there's a couple of players that stepped up today. I think, obviously losing Kone this week has been a massive miss, but I thought Saliba today was fantastic again. I thought he was very solid. He is like growing on me really, really quickly. I really like his, just like the way he plays. Very silky smooth player. The interesting one for me today was Eustachio coming in on the bench and not starting. They said he wasn't fully fit, but he looked fantastic in the second half, right, when he came on. So I would question why he didn't start. I again, it's one of those Jesse Marsh things where, he said he's not quite there. And I think if Canada had a full team, I think we definitely got a lot more going for us. But I just don't think the injuries have done any favors for us at all at this point.
No, it's a shame, honestly. It's a shame that you're not getting a full strength team. And rarely in World Cups do you have everything line up exactly perfectly. But it's been brutal to see how much Canada's been missing some of their big players. Obviously, Kone going down is a really big miss. And if Eustachio is not fully healthy, that's hopefully that's something that he could bounce back from and be ready to start, because I think he's probably their most important player for
Oh,
me, just in terms
100%.
of how he controls the match, he controls the tempo. You can see that when they're looking to relieve pressure, he's the outlet they're constantly looking for. His ability to spray a pass, and I think he can get stuck in on a tackle just as well as he can ping a ball 40 yards on a diagonal. So I think he's a big difference maker for Canada. So hopefully they can again use this time to get a little bit healthier, because it's going to be a tough test. If it is South Korea in the round of 32, that's going to be no walk in the park. So I think they'll certainly have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, I think they play tonight, right? I think that's the. I think we've got Scotland, Brazil on. I think right about now. I think that's up and running, and then I think
Yep.
there's some. I think Korea plays later, right? So
Yes, they play South
I
Africa
get.
later tonight.
Yeah, that South African team's not great. Um, like
Yeah.
it's not a good team. That first game in the tournament with South Africa, I was like 15 minutes in. I'm like, yep, this one's done. Okay, it's time to move to the next one. So, but no, I think it's great to see. It's interesting you mentioned BC Place. Like I just keep saying it every time I see BC Place with real grass. I'm like, man, that stadium looks fantastic with real grass. If somebody who's been there, you know what it's like with the
Would be
when the
nice.
carpet's down. Oh, it looks
Yeah,
so
no,
good.
I mean, the turf is brutal there. If they were able to listen, I mean, that's a whole other kettle of fish when you talk about the Whitecaps and what the future might hold for them. But we've had some great days at BC Place, and some not so great days when it comes to especially the Canadian Championship, winning trophies, losing trophies. But no, listen, it was really cool to see it that full, because you can kind of see the potential for what Vancouver is as a football city. And for many years, Vancouver didn't give them a lot to cheer about. They were kind of a middling franchise, and but to see them rally around the national team, and for what is undoubtedly the biggest game in Canadian history, these past couple of games as they foray into the World Cup, it's been really cool to see just the turnout, to see how much the country is rallying around this team.
Yeah, I think it's just nice for everyone just to be enjoying it, right? Like we were talking about this week a lot of the Toronto versus Vancouver situations, but I think at the end of the day, like when it comes to this, it's just great to see that everybody's turning up, everybody's in red. My only gripe today was why did Canada play in white and Switzerland played in red? I didn't really like
Yeah, it
that.
threw
It
me off for a
bugs
bit. I'm
me.
not going to lie.
I
But
don't understand
maybe
why
it's
that.
for marketing purposes, because I think they ran through all their jerseys, right? They were red, black, and now white, so they get to showcase whatever all the jerseys they have. So there's that.
I'm surprised Canada Soccer's actually got them because they normally run out of them because they don't make enough, right? Because we have a limited budget apparently, so
Uh,
it's interesting. But
yeah,
no, I
right.
think at the end of the day, yeah, it's been a great group stage has been fantastic, and now it's time to find out what we're really made of. And I think at the end of the day, you've got an option to beat a team. And if it's South Korea, it's South Korea. But I think you've got a good chance as any, and you never know. Everybody has their day, right? And I think that's kind of we're hoping this is our turn, and it can be better for us. So because at the end of the day, you don't want to be the first host out, right?
Of course, no, of course, and it was interesting that Mexico and the U.S. were the first two teams to clinch their spot, winning their group. So, I mean, from that perspective, it's great that all three host nations are going through. I think it's been great for the tournament as a whole. I think to my point earlier about BC placing the fans there. You could say the same thing about Estadio Azteca. That speaks for itself. The way that the Mexican fans turn out. But as an American, I've been very pleasantly surprised by the turnout at national team games here in the States, because typically, and I think we lucked out a little bit with some of the draw, but we're used to, and as Canada is as well, when you have a home game, a lot of times it feels like an away game just with the amount of fans that turn out in droves. So
yeah.
God help us if we ever play Mexico in LA, that's going to be 90-10 against us. But when I saw the scenes in Seattle for the US versus Australia match, I mean, I had goosebumps. I mean, listening to the national anthem, singing, however, tens of thousands of fans singing along. It was really cool. And it's rare that we're able to get a turnout like that. That's so pro the home team, pro US. So it's like I said, I think it's been a great tournament so far from that perspective. All the host countries really showcasing the best of what they're all about.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I think, and that's kind of like the environment. It's hard because sometimes some of the channels tend to mute some of the crowd noise a little bit, and so you don't think it's that loud. I know that was the case with Toronto and Vancouver's first two games, where you couldn't really hear the crowd as much. But then definitely today you could hear it. As soon as that second goal went in today, you could hear the crowd. You're like, okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Like, turn that volume up, but I don't turn it down. But even I have one of my guys that works for me actually went to Seattle today to watch the Bosnia game, and he sent me a video, and the noise in that stadium sounds phenomenal, right? So I think it's good when you do get really good crowds at these World Cups, and I think that's what kind of makes a World Cup is the crowd, and we know that, right? I think at the end of the day, it's been an interesting start. The only thing on the last point for me today is Canada seemed to take advantage of what everyone's now calling the advertisement breaks, the hydration break specials. It's funny because the Americans are getting blamed for that, as you know.
Of course, yeah.
So it's funny because they use the hydration break in the first half and the second half to regroup and to change the momentum of the game. How is the hydration break viewed in the US? How is it? People don't understand it, or what's the take?
I mean, I'd say the casual fan, your average American who just tunes in every 4 years to watch the World Cup probably has no clue, like, what's going on. Do they break up the game into quarters now? Like, what's happening? But what's really interesting is it depends on where you watch. So if you're watching on Fox and they go to the hydration break, they cut away to commercial. Whereas if you're watching on Telemundo, which is the Spanish rights holders here in the States, they just stay with the game. So you're seeing the coaches talking tactics, and you're seeing scenes from the stadium. So it does give it a bit of a different feel, and I think it brings you obviously closer to the action to understand what the point of this whole thing is, even though I think we all know a lot of the impetus behind this is just ad dollars and being able to bring in a little bit more when it comes to these ad breaks. But listen, I'm not too fussed about it. I would prefer that you just get on with it. Listen, there's a time and a place for hydration breaks when you're talking about like the heat of California or Texas or Florida. I mean, granted, we've, I've been down in those conditions, whether it's, when we spent the season in Orlando or just ridiculously hot games in Texas. So I definitely understand the need for it. But I mean, when we're in Vancouver, we're under a dome, right? I mean, like there's so many instances where it's very clearly just being mandated in there and not necessarily for the betterment of the players. So it does it makes the game a little bit choppy and stop start, but it's not my ideal scenario for sure.
No, the England game when it was torrential rain and they're calling a hydration break, and they're like, you see the players walking off sopping wet yesterday, and I just laughed. I'm like, hydration break, really? Like that? Do you think they need to be wet anymore? Like, there's just pretty entertaining. Like the booing is getting louder by the games. I think that's one thing that's becoming more and more visible everywhere.
Yeah.
So
hopefully something they take a look at, but
well, UEFA's already said that for the Euros there's going to be no such thing as a hydration break. So I think that's UEFA just trying to get a shot at FIFA across the bows. But
exactly.
So before I let you go, what is your prediction for the US? What's your prediction for Canada in the next round? What do you think? Do you think it wins?
Oh man,
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Sorry.
I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, I think we can guess. I think for the U.S., it's like 99% certain at this point that it's going to be Bosnia, given that they just won and they've clinched third place. I think it's almost guaranteed that the U.S. will be facing off against them. I would like the U.S.'s chances against Bosnia. I think that's a decent matchup. So I would back, if they're, barring any crazy injuries, if they continue on in this vein, I would back the U.S. to go through there. With Canada, and again, if it does end up being South Korea, I think it gets a little bit dicier, and it's so much dependent on who's healthy and who's fit. Because I think on their day, Canada absolutely can go to toe and nip a result. So yeah, I'll back Canada. I'm on a TFC pod. I'm gonna back Canada, and for old time's sake, my second home.
There we go. Yeah, I think the US will get to the quarterfinals. I don't think it's. I think they're playing too well. I think they're gonna. I think their route's pretty good too, right? I think if you take the potential matchups there, I think that they have got a shot. I think, and I do think the home advantage always is going to get you an extra round or two, right? I just think that's the way it kind of works in soccer. You've seen it over the years where the home nations kind of get a little bit further based on that. I think Canada will get through the next round. I think that will be it. I think everyone after that might be too strong for us, and I think they need to learn from today's defeat. I think that's the biggest thing for me. But Mexico, I think, will be a bit like the US. I think they'll get pretty far as well. But I think it's going to be an interesting time to see.
Listen. I think I'm trying to take a moment here to because it's already going by so fast. The group stage is already nearly behind us. We've been talking about this home World Cup. I remember in 2018 when it was announced, and working at TFC and talking about, okay, we're going to be hosting games here in Toronto and what that might look like. The fact that the last time this was in the States was 94. I was too young to remember what that looked like. I have to take a step back as someone who's worked in football my whole life to really enjoy hey, we've got a World Cup in our own backyard, and our teams are playing well. It's really one of those pinch me moments, and I'm trying my best to ground myself and take it all in. I'm trying to watch every single game that I can, much to my wife's chagrin. But it's really awesome. I'm really just trying to sit in this moment as much as I can, because it really is it's a once in a lifetime thing, and it's been great to see so much of the buzz around us and how the casual fan is getting into the game, and that's really all you can ask for as we try to build the profile of soccer in the U.S. and Canada and everywhere.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. You're on a roll. Your US is playing well, and your Knicks just won the NBA. So you know what,
Life is good. Listen, very rarely does this happen. Very rarely does this happen for me. So I'm taking the W's when I can take them.
I know. If the Jays had just won the World Series last year,
too soon. Still too soon.
I know. I'm tortured by that one, but it's good. Now, Eric, a big thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate you stepping in and joining me for this chat and to catch up. And it's always a pleasure. It's always you're one of those people I'm always excited to talk to, because you've been around, you know what we're like. So just a big thank you from us. For everybody else, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. It helps us out. And we'll be back once we find out who Canada is playing next. So that's that's always an exciting thing. I just don't want any more England versus Ghana games, because oh my god, I don't think I could be that bored again in my life. I think that yesterday's game made me depressed. So
that was tough.
Oh, and the last update I have for you all, my flag football team did lose yesterday to the Lions, 24-6. We had a bad day. I know everyone's been asking me about that too. So that was a rough day yesterday. We got a little bit caught celebrating too much yesterday. We got picked off a couple of times. So thanks everyone for watching. So we'll be back soon, and enjoy this weekend. Thanks, guys. All right.